Martin, and I am from the Master of Arts in Education with the P12 emphasis cohort, and my advisor is Dr. Chuck Lees. I'm also an elementary school educator. For the last 18 years, I have made it my mission to teach all elementary grades, transitional kindergarten through 6th, and as of this year, I have achieved that goal. Yeah, with this major milestone accomplished, I started to think about what's next for my career. I feel it's finally time for me to leave the self-contained classroom and venture into the world of educational administration. As if my approach to teaching is any indicator, I imagine I will not end my career until I have worked all the way through all of the educational administrative jobs available. In a public school district in California, the top job is superintendent. But what is a superintendent? According to the California Education Code, a school district superintendent is the chief executive officer of the organization. The person in this position is responsible for managing individual school sites in their district and reporting to the governing board of elected officials. With my sights set on one day becoming a public school superintendent, I was left wondering how to get there. What can I do to best prepare myself for this future role? What combination of teaching experience, formal education, and career positions might best prepare someone for a position as an elementary, high, or unified public school district superintendent in California? Some of you might be wondering, is she going to perform a multilinear multiple regression path analysis? The answer is no, I don't know how to do that. Instead, I decided to use descriptive statistics to help me understand the qualifications of current superintendents to help guide my career path. While I was researching theories of and approaches to educational leadership, I was drawn to Katz's skills approach of leadership. This approach focuses on the evolution of a leader rather than their inborn traits. It asserts a growth mindset, stating that great leaders are not born, they are made. Katz posited that there are 3 skills necessary for a successful executive: technical, human, and conceptual, and that these skills can be developed over time. For this study, I needed to collect information from superintendents that tied to Katz's work with executives. From here, I established the 3 areas of focus that I stated in my research question: teaching experience, formal education, and career path. At this point, I knew what I wanted to know, but I wasn't sure how to get it. The most logical solution would be to find some superintendents and ask them. But the most recent data available from the state of California lists 518 elementary school districts, 66 high school districts, and 345 unified school districts for a total of 929 superintendents. Okay, no interviews. There had to be a more efficient way to collect career and education information on hundreds of people, and it turns out there is. Ask for their resumes. I sent thousands of emails to superintendents across California asking them to send me their resumes. And here are the responses I got: 76 elementary superintendents, 20 high school superintendents, and 87 unified superintendents for a total of 183 participants. For those of you concerned about whether the data I collected are representative of the population, don't worry. I conducted Fisher exact tests and I can assure you they are. I coded 183 resumes. I pulled out key information on teaching experience, formal education, and career experience. As illustrated in Table 5, I found that most of the participants possessed a teaching credential of some type, while 12 individuals either had a qualifying non-teaching credential or no credential at all. Of those participants with teaching experience, 80 had elementary experience, 38 had middle school teaching experience, and 72 had high school teaching experience. What is interesting to note is that superintendents with elementary teaching experience spent on average more time in the classroom, but that's another study. In Table 10, I organized the data for highest degree attainment. As you can see, about 47% of superintendents listed a Master of Arts or Sciences as their highest degree. About 48% of participants listed a Doctor of Education, or EDD, and only about 4% listed a PhD, or Doctor of Philosophy. Table 14 shows us previous positions held by participants. While coding, I noticed specific job titles appeared frequently on resumes. assistant principal, principal, director, assistant or associate superintendent, and deputy superintendent. I have included the positions held broken down by type of school district, but I would like to draw your attention to the overall percentages in the far right column. About 66% of superintendents began their administrative careers as assistant principals, and about 60% occupied the position of assistant or associate superintendent before becoming a superintendent. This all brings me back to my research question. What combination of teaching experience, formal education, and career positions held best prepare someone for a position as an elementary, high, or unified public school district superintendent in California? Well, if you want to become an elementary school district superintendent like I do, the data suggests earning a multiple subject teaching credential, teaching elementary school, obtaining a Master of Arts or Sciences degree, becoming an assistant principal, then an elementary school principal, followed by a director of some department, and finally an assistant or associate superintendent. If your goal is to become a high school district superintendent, the data is a little different. It suggests earning a single subject teaching credential, teaching high school, obtaining a Master of Arts or Sciences or Doctor of Education degree, becoming an assistant principal, then a high school principal, followed by a director of some department, and finally an assistant or associate superintendent. The data for unified school district superintendents is slightly different. Multiple subject and single subject credentials were listed approximately the same number of times on resumes, and 90% of unified school district superintendents had some kind of teaching experience. About 50% of them had Doctor of Education, had earned a Doctor of Education, and about 64% started their journeys as assistant principals. Nearly half of unified superintendents spent time as elementary principals before becoming directors and then assistant or associate superintendents. As a California elementary educator with aspirations of becoming a superintendent, I find it incredibly helpful to learn about the successes of those who came before me and the leadership approach that may contribute to successful educational leaders. Using the data collected from this study as a guide, a motivated educator, such as myself, can best prepare for a position as an elementary, high, or unified public school district superintendent in California. Are there any questions? Oh, okay. Yes, John.
Sorry. So I was wondering if there was any, like during your literature review or even like after you finished kind of correlating your data, whether you sort of like looked at the effectiveness of the superintendents from those pathways, or anything of that nature, like the outcome of like what kinds of superintendents it was.
Right. So my study was a quantitative study, and so the only information that I had was the position that they held, not their effectiveness in that position. That would be a very interesting qualitative study to do, but I don't have any data for that.
What surprised you and what didn't surprise you?
So something that surprised me was where I jokingly said earlier about elementary school teachers spending more time in the classroom than secondary educators before becoming superintendents. The average was, I think it said seven point something years, and I've been an elementary teacher for 18 years. I am definitely an outlier in that situation. And so based on how little classroom experience all of these superintendents had, that surprised me. Somebody who maybe went into teaching right out of college, taught for 5 to 7 years, they're in their 20s. Do you get teaching at that point? Like, I don't know. I just sort of expected people to be practicing this for a lot longer before leaving the classroom and moving on to something else, but that wasn't the
I'm
case.
curious the length of time they spent in each role.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're
Right.
Right, like looking at the ages.
Right, exactly. And I debated broaching the subject of gender in terms of who is holding these positions, because the data supports there are more women in elementary teaching roles, and they are spending longer in the classroom, and that would be a very interesting other study to do there. Yeah.
So as a career coach, this fascinates me
Yeah.
because I would love to do this with like every single one of my students, but obviously that would take too long. So now that you obviously have conducted all these information direction, yes, I still wanna be a superintendent, and yes, I feel like I'm on the same pathway, or do you feel like I need to navigate things a little bit differently now that I have this data?
Well, based on the data for the elementary school district superintendent, I'm already here. I'm in step 3, just because of how my career transitions naturally. The next step would be assistant principal and anything. With the help of this credential that I'm working on, or I guess just finished right now, that would be the next step for me. I don't know that it informs whether I want that job or not, but I like knowing I could have it.
I wonder, could you speak to if there are any like requirements for becoming a superintendent? Like,
Yes.
do you have to have a master's degree or a PhD or an MD, or like are they different?
Yes, well, so there's no specific degree requirement. However, in the last couple of years, the law was changed. It said superintendents now need to possess the administrative services credential. And so typically you'll see that bundled with a master's degree. And so every resume that I looked at had some kind of advanced degree. Nobody had just a bachelor's degree. And so that was half of my participants only had, say only, but stopped, we'll say, at a master's degree. And about 46% of them pursued a degree beyond that eventually. But yeah, it's up until a couple of years ago, and that's why there's a few participants in my study who had no teaching credential or even a non-teaching credential. That was a requirement before recently. I hope I'm being accurate. Okay. Well, thank you so much.